So please be seated. So as you just heard, Ellie Dietz's team, the False Alarm Chili team, won the People's Choice Award yesterday. Yes, Ellie. Woo! What you might not have heard is how I ran up to her at the end of the day and said, "Give me a swallow of that red stuff there, for I am famished and exhausted." And Ellie, being biblically savvy, responded like Jacob did to Esau and said, "Sell me your birthright." Okay, that's not exactly how it went down. But it's funny how our scriptures can speak into our lives in so many different ways, y'all. They have been given to us to navigate our lives. And so, actually, you've got Bibles in your pews, right? You can go and you can look at Genesis chapter 25, verse 30, right? And I kid you not, Esau really does run up to Jacob and say, "Give me some of that red stuff." I don't think Moses had Texas red chili in mind when he penned that. I don't know. But I also don't think we can just dismiss it out of hand, right? Both of those funny anecdotes are meant to help us check our worldly passions. Scripture is given to us as a gift. And so I think of what it means to be the inspired Word of God. And for Episcopalians, when we say it's inspired, we mean that God is able to speak God's truth in love into our lives across time and space and culture. The Scriptures are not dead words on dead trees. The Scriptures are living words on living hearts. God gave us the Scriptures across time and space to speak particularly into our lives. And it's a good and a joyful thing to share them together. So let's take a look at the Scriptures. I'm thankful every week on Wednesdays at noon, we have a preaching roundtable. All of you are invited. Different people show up different weeks to help me out in reading Scriptures and interpreting them. And this week was no different. We all came together, we read through the Scriptures, and as a community, we came to different interpretations. And it helped us get through our week. Those conversations about struggles helped us in our own struggles. How many of you are struggling out there? Struggling, with your health, with your vocation, with your identity, with your family, with your friends, with your faith. Yes, we are all struggling. And we have been given these wonderful scriptures, today's scripture, about Jacob's wrestling to help us through this life. So let's see what bubbles up as we dig into the scriptures. There's the first pass at scriptures is the literal pass, right? There's nothing wrong with literal interpretation. Sometimes it can be really helpful, and today is no different, right? If you are an aging athlete or just someone who's been active all their lives, right? You grew up playing baseball or softball or soccer or basketball, and maybe you don't play coordinated sports anymore, but you're still running and swimming and doing yoga. And then all of a sudden, you have something go awry with your hip. Right? You feel like God has struck you on the hip and knocked it out of joint. Right? Today's literal reading of the scriptures might really resonate with you. To not be able to do the things that you used to be able to do because of an affliction to your hip. To hear about Jacob holding on and demanding a blessing that comes out of this affliction might be the good news for you today. Might be good news to take a different tact, to investigate gardening, to look into coaching, right? Maybe your real call in life is to coach. But to take those scriptures and to say, hey, there is a blessing in this affliction. Or maybe we're not into the literal interpretation. Right? There are layers and layers of interpretation of these scriptures. And many scholars agree that Jacob's story of wrestling isn't so much about Jacob, struggling with God or an angel or an external divine messenger, but he's struggling with the image of God within himself. What Jacob is really wrestling with is who God has called him to be and who he finds himself to be in that moment. And I think a lot of us have felt that in our lives with regard to our vocation. Right? We have found ourselves like Jacob, who have survived and excelled because of our cleverness or our ability to game a system. Jacob's name literally means crooked. And every blessing he has gotten up until this point, he's gotten by being clever. He has tricked Esau into giving him his birthright for a bowl of chili. Later on, we hear that he tricks Isaac into giving him Esau's blessing by dressing up like his brother and putting some goat hair on his arm. Maybe what Jacob is struggling with is his vocation as a trickster. Maybe we are feeling some of that. Our ability to game a system in academia or in the business world, or for me, years ago, in the military officership, right? We have found success in being clever. And maybe now we hear a call to deal with things directly, even if that means embracing our true identity as a plumber or as a poet or as a priest. And so we hear this struggle today, and we resonate with the desire to change our methods, to lean into a new place, a new vocation, and find a blessing in that struggle. Or maybe we hear these scriptures and we're struggling as a person who has been pigeonholed into a particular role. Someone who has found themselves because of just momentum in a role that they didn't expect to be. I think a lot of the youth in our world today are struggling with that, with roles and identities and how to make sense of it all. And I think of Jacob and Esau, and I think of the struggles they have that came from, the pressures and the roles that their community put on them. Esau was literally named the hairy one, right? Jacob, the crooked one. It feels like this is something out of a proto-narrative for The Breakfast Club, right? Esau, the jock, Jacob, the bookworm. And so there are these pressures that are lumped on them. Isaac is all the time praising Esau for his hunting prowess. And Rebekah is always praising Jacob for his cleverness. She's even the one that puts him up to stealing the blessing, right? She's the one that dresses him up like his brother and shoves him in front of her father. Maybe what they're struggling with is who God is calling them to be. And we see that manifest on the other side of the Jabbok, right? We always get the Jacob side of the story where he wrestles, he comes out on the other end, he gets a new name, Israel, and he starts dealing with people more directly. He's not trying to do an end around on the situation. But Esau goes through the same kind of transformation, y'all. On the other side of the Jabbok, he's a different person, someone who has lived into his truer calling. He is not the dumb jock waiting to give Jacob a wedgie on the other side of the river. If you go forward in that story, Esau runs to Jacob when he sees him. He runs out to him. He embraces him. He kneels down and he weeps with his brother. We see a tender, older brother just thankful that his younger brother is back. If there's a proto-narrative at play, it's a proto-narrative of the prodigal son. And Esau is the one who says, put the past behind us. I'm just glad that we're reunited together in relationship. Our scriptures speak to us in so many different ways. They are good for us. They lift us up. They bind us together. They help us get through this life. So if you hear me saying anything today, hear me say, read the scriptures daily, weekly, as often as you can, and talk to your friends about them. There is wisdom to be had in our conversations together about the scriptures. And if you hear me say two things, the second thing is don't sell your birthright for a bowl of chili. At least ask for some cornbread or a Topo Chico. Amen.